Millions around the world couldn't believe their eyes. It's called the Sagrada Familia, and it was the vision of the great Catalan architect Antoni Gaudi 144 years ago. That's right, after 144 years of continuous building, the most stunning church in the world has finally been completed. But what makes this church truly stunning is how it actually points to something even bigger, an extraordinary renewal that's happening all over the world, a renewal that promises a future that's beyond anything any of us could have ever imagined. You and I are living in an amazing time. I mean, we're literally witnessing history being made every single week, and this week was no exception. Yesterday, June 10th, Pope Leo celebrated a solemn mass at the Sagrada Familia basilica in Barcelona and formally blessed its newly completed Tower of Jesus Christ, and the service was nothing short of mesmerizing. That tower you just saw, the newly completed Tower of Jesus Christ, spans over 566 feet high, making the Sagrada Familia now the tallest basilica in the world. The cross on top is itself 5 stories tall. The evening ceremony drew an estimated 9,000 worshippers inside the basilica, and 120,000 faithful gathered in the surrounding streets, with millions watching from abroad. Spain's King Felipe VI and their Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez were among the dignitaries present. The historical symmetry was actually quite stunning. If you don't know, the Sagrada Familia's cornerstone was laid back in 1882 during the pontificate of Pope Leo XIII. And now, 144 years later, his namesake, Pope Leo XIV, inaugurated its crowning tower. Before Mass, Leo lit a candle and prayed at the tomb of the designer of the church, Antoni Gaudi, who's buried in the basilica's crypt. Addressing the congregation in both Spanish and Catalan, he called the basilica an architectural masterpiece and an eloquent catechesis made of stones, colors, and light. There are exactly 18 towers. 12 represent the apostles, 4 represent the Gospels, and 1 for Mary, the mother of Christ, and of course the central and tallest tower, signifying Christ as the center of the cosmos. The church has 3 facades, each dedicated to depicting the 3 key moments into which the entire cosmos has been incorporated: Christ's birth, his death, and his transformative resurrection. Inside, the most stunning feature is the way Gaudi plays with sunlight coming through stained glass windows, creating color combinations that make you feel like you're in another world, a Narnia-like world where colors you've never imagined fill the space through sunlight. It's absolutely astonishing. It's theology made visible in stone and in light, a 3-dimensional catechism pointing in every direction toward Christ. The Sagrada Familia is without question one of the most glorious, spectacular churches in the entire world. And yet, it points to something even grander and greater than itself. Something that's actually happening all over the world, even as we speak. This is going to absolutely blow you away. But first, gang, what if I told you there's a little-known arbitrage play hiding inside a $30 billion market, and regular people with zero background in finance or tech are quietly generating $5,000, $10,000, even $20,000 a month from it, using nothing but a laptop. I know it sounds almost too good to be true, but here's what's actually going on. There's a significant and very real pricing gap in the used book market. The same book can be worth dramatically different amounts depending on where it's listed. And the people who've learned how to spot and exploit that gap are building serious, sustainable income. And what makes this unlike anything else I've come across, you never actually handle a single physical book. No inventory sitting in your garage, no trips to the post office, no physical logistics whatsoever. The whole thing runs from your browser. You identify the opportunity, you make a few clicks, and the fulfillment side is handled entirely by someone else. And I want to be clear, this isn't a side hustle that just pads your grocery budget. This is a real business model that people are running full-time right now, many of them having walked away from jobs they didn't love to do. That's why I'm personally hosting a free training where I'm going to walk you through exactly how this system works, start to finish. No filler, no theory, just the actual mechanics of how to find the opportunities and what to do with them. I've gone deep on this, gang, and I'm genuinely excited to show you what I found. Click the link below or type bkprofit.com/Turley in your browser or scan the QR code on your screen to reserve your free spot right now. You do not want to miss this one. What's happening in Barcelona with the Sagrada Familia is actually part of a very real reawakening. The reawakening of a new Christendom all over the world. In Orthodox Russia, upwards of over 30,000 churches have been rebuilt after the destruction and the aftermath of the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917. In fact, the official date of the Soviet Union's collapse fell on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1991. Around that time, barely 30% of Russians claimed to be Christian. Today, 30 years later, over 80% identify as Christians. And it's not just Russia. This is St. Sava in Belgrade, Serbia. This cathedral was just built and opened in 2020. It's styled after the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, or as some of you might say, Istanbul. And it's considered one of the modern wonders of ancient Byzantine architecture, as is this, the People's Salvation Cathedral in Bucharest, Romania, opening just last year. It's the largest and tallest Eastern Orthodox church building in the world. Rising 132 meters on Spiria's Hill opposite the Palace of Parliament, this Neo-Byzantine landmark represents a monumental return to sacred grandeur. The cathedral accommodates 7,000 worshippers beneath a main dome exceeding 430 feet from the ground. The cathedral, in fact, has the largest free-swinging church bell in the world, and we could go on and on. What's happening with the Sagrada Familia and Russia's church-building program and what we're seeing in Serbia and Romania and throughout the Christian world is a stunning resurgence, a reawakening of Christian civilization, not just in cathedrals and sacred buildings, but in classical architecture programs like the rebuilding and restoration efforts in Budapest, Hungary, that I took you on a tour of a few weeks back. We're seeing it in the mass popularity of Christian and sacred music, particularly coming from the Estonian composer Arvo Pärt and the movement he started known as sacred minimalism. In fact, Pärt is considered the single most sought-after classical composer in the world today. And we're seeing it in the return of sacred art and iconography, where sacred images are once again awakening the imagination to divine realities all around us. And for me, as a former educator, the most stunning development of all in this reawakened Christendom is the extraordinary renewal of classical and Christian education that's taking the world by storm. And I do mean the world, as we just saw firsthand in Brazil. In fact, just 8 short years ago, Brazil had no classical schools at all. Today, they have upwards of 50 or 60, teaching tens of thousands of classical students all around their nation. And that brings us back to the Sagrada Familia. What makes this really the most amazing church in the world is the way in which it uniquely reveals to us the future. You see, Gaudi's Sagrada Familia is a stunning example of what's increasingly being called archaeofuturism, a term coined by the French scholar Guillaume Faye. Faye theorized that populations all over the world would increasingly return to their traditions, customs, and religions, while at the same time maintaining and developing their technological advances. In other words, the future would bring together the very technology and tradition that secular globalism had tried so hard to separate. As such, the buildings and urban planning of the future, as well as the music, the art, the politics of societies all over the world, will experience a tremendous revival of re-traditionalization, with science now in the service of the sacred, technology transforming the transcendent, together awakening our highest religious aspirations. That is precisely what Gaudi's Sagrada Familia represents, a future of religious renewal and technological innovation that together promise to foster our highest human flourishing.